In the city of Philadelphia, I think a few months ago, there was a shootout on one of the main strips, the business strips. I was up there probably about an hour before that occurred. One of the things I did subsequently in a meeting with police officers was talk about the environment we live in. We tragically have a generation, not all of them, but a lot of them, who are numb to the reality they exist in. Officers are well aware of what they're up against. When they did that shootout that hit about 10 people, if you know Philadelphia, if you know the South Street, there are officers almost on every other block. So when that fight escalated into a gunfight, they saw the police, they saw the officers there, but they did not care. So when we have conversations like this, we have to boldly say to officers, we want you to make it home to your families. These tools that we're presenting with Citizens Campaign, Civic Trust, these are individuals who are working with you to create a safer environment for you. And when they move from the adversarial role of thinking you're trying to take their power or move them out or come in and take their overtime, we're not here for any of that. Auxiliary police actually don't even get paid. They receive a stipend in the end of the year, and that is part of the process of, again, what Harry itemized with dealing with local budgets. Again, we're working and doing the doable, but my point is the police and the community know what's out there, and we have to present solutions to resolve the issues we're all dealing with. When that occurred, I was bothered by it because I had kids with me, and if I'd have been there a few minutes later, they might have got hit. So when I talk to the community, when I talk to the young people, when I talk to police officers, I talk from a solution-based space, but I incorporate them into the equation so they don't feel like I'm talking at them, but I'm talking with them. I was one of the most toxic people before I met Citizens Campaign. I literally used to come into rooms and look to be disruptive because I was the young black man full of anger, full of trauma, full of pain, frustrated. And what I did not know was there was a mechanism and a path to bring resolution to the issues I was being plagued by. And once I was able to engage Citizens Campaign, Civic Trust, and the curriculum that comes with both, I learned that if I came into a room and did not speak but listened to others, found common ground that we all can work on, then we could resolve issues that were plaguing all of us. And one of the things people were very upbeat about was having the capacity to go from not knowing to knowing. And it's very simple because the programs, the videos lay it out for you. And instead of walking into a room and hoping and wishing, and I won't be disrespectful in saying praying, but actually learning the science of how problems are resolved, we were able to do that. And again, in that format, those elected officials, the mayor, and even the law enforcement officials embraced what we were doing. And we were able to put auxiliary police in place, and it was a powerful component in terms of where we are now. And what I think, a last piece I'll touch on is what I think it does most importantly is it allows us to be able to recruit. You often hear across this country, Chicago, Trenton, New York, Philly, that the police force should look like the people of the community. But that's very difficult to do. I teach 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, and they are innately taught to hate law enforcement, not because they know law enforcement, but unfortunately, they experience or watch law enforcement lock up a lot of their peers, family members, and friends in their communities. Now, there are other areas and things we could talk about with that, but to see that makes them innately hate law enforcement. So when we start talking about auxiliary and those being people who are of, from, and for the community, they become a great recruit mechanism to dialogue and say, well, you know what, security isn't bad. You know what, law enforcement isn't bad. And what I teach in the schools when I bring them in there is I say, if you don't like how the officer talks to you, become one. If you don't like how the officers walk, talk, and move in your community, become one. Because if we don't stop allowing our young people to come up with all that anger and frustration and not move that energy into being resolution and being active agents of change, then we again will have failed not only ourselves, but them as well. So again, part of the work that we're doing with Citizens Campaign is not just talking about what needs to happen, but we're making it happen.